Hello, everyone. Are you ready to bring your voice and your message out into the world? Or do you feel like there's something that you need for it to be a yes? Today, I have Dr. Gary joining us from Australia, who has the vision that we all discover ways to bring our voice and message out into the world as we've dreamed possible, to show up, step up, and stand for what matters the most in our lives, the light of preserving, sustaining, and upgrading life on this planet. I am so excited to what he has to share and grateful for all of you to join us. I'm Jennifer Regular, the host of Awaken and Ascend, also the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. More about that on my website, lightingthepath.ca. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Gary. Dr. Gary has developed a unique body-centered style of presentation coaching that awakens authenticity, connection, and rapport with self and others. He assists fellow souls to embody their genuine nature, to develop confidence, and express themselves fully on all stages of life. He creates a safe space to easily liberate inhibitions, hesitations, doubts, and fears. He provides tangible tools and pioneering pathways that empower developing leaders to enhance the engagement, interactive impact, and effectiveness of their live and recorded presentations. Welcome, Dr. Gary. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I know how much you've helped me in your work, and especially with the formula that you provide and the framework to really getting our message out there and really being able to express it in the best way and have the right impact, especially as you bring the body elements into it. So I'm so grateful that you're joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Such an honor to be here with you, Jennifer. Thank you for illuminating us all.
Thank you. And you know what? Speaking of illumination, I'm really interested, Dr. Gary, in what lit your path? What made you so passionate about bringing people's voice and message out into the world?
Big question. I can give you the pleasant expression of the icing on the cake with a pretty champagne, bubbly answer. Yet I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share the opposite of that. I feel like there's real value, like what Michelangelo said. I saw the angel in the marble, and I chiseled away until I set the angel free. That's how I see life. I see myself as an archaeologist of the soul. For years, I've been passionate in having a very active, agile, versatile body from the beginning of my life, where I became a champion springboard diver, gymnast, track star. And when I moved from the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast of San Francisco in my early 20s, I came across some wonderful teachers in the body therapy arena. I had already been studying psychodrama with J.L. Marino, who lived just an hour north of where I grew up in New York. He brought psychodrama over from Europe to the United States. And with my interest in diving deep and having such an ability to express through the body, rather than looking at ills and deformities and dysfunction in the body, I received tremendous teachings from wonderful teachers in bioenergetics, polarity therapy, deep tissue postural integration, Swedish massage, lymphatic massage, gestalt, the list goes on. And from that, out came all of this release of physical tension. As an athlete, I was carrying a lot of tension, even though I had a great ability to perform and present. When I received and had all these teachings of these emotional-based, body-centered therapies, out came physical tension on the top layer. This is what I mean of what I discovered of calling myself an archaeologist of the soul. On the first layer, we all carry these physical tensions. We're buried in our own landscapes, and most of us don't know that. I didn't know that. Out came a freeing of all this rigidity, tightness, stubbornness, patterns that were both physical and emotional and mental. One layer underneath the physical layer is the emotional layer. And here is where the self-talk, I'm not good enough, or whatever your version of the kept the sentence in place, held that in the form of pulling back from fully expressing my authenticity and creativity in this world. And underneath that, what happened after the tears, the staking, the shame, the blame, the anger, the pain came out through my physical body, then all these gifts of creativity poured out: writing, storytelling, public speaking, singing, painting, sketching. And I said to myself at that time in my mid-20s, oh my goodness, if we are all buried in our own landscapes like this, the body, our chief temple of communication, our chief vehicle of communication, then I'm going to dedicate my life to being, I didn't have the words at the time, an archaeologist of this world, to free the physical, emotional, and creative layers that are bound to release through this marvelous instrument that we have. That's the short, long version of answering the question, how did I find the passion to do what I'm doing now? That has driven me in a positive way. What I was going to also unravel is like what Michelangelo said, what had to release in me that was trauma. My mom, my dad, beautiful souls, cared so much about me, wanted me to have the best possible life, did not tell me until I was in my mid-30s, and I'd already gotten into my body therapies. I already did not get into medical school. I already had all this creativity pouring out through me. I moved to Hawaii in my early 30s, and there I came out as a court jester, where with the three-horned hat, the face paint, the harlequin outfit, I began sharing stories, songs, recitations, and the living legends of Hawaii, where I went on an artist in the school program all around Hawaii, teaching the children with improvisational theater and interaction their own living legends. Before that happened, I was not told by my mom until I had already been a full-fledged court jester. Our son, the court jester, what did we do wrong? I felt I had to do this. I had this to do. It was coming out of me. I couldn't stop. This immense creativity from pouring, pageanting, and parading through my landscape. And my mom told me then in my early 30s, oh, darling, I love you so much. I want to tell you that your great-grandfather on my side was a clarinet player for the Tsar in Russia, and his brother was an artist. Well, they had hidden that there was one creative bone in my body from me because they wanted me to have an intellectual, professional, academic career, to run company. They brought me up with a certain idea of me fitting in a certain mold. I couldn't do it. And that's when the penny dropped, or should I say the silver dollar dropped, and I realized, oh my goodness, no wonder I feel this propulsion, this drive to help wake up people's creativity by releasing the physical, emotional, and mental patterns that have been holding us back. So that's the dark end of answering your question, and the light end was sharing all the creativity that came through what came out through me. No, I had to discover what was pushed down in me to have this passion that is the drive that helps me all the time want to free other souls from their own trauma and conditioning and multi-generational wounding. There we go.
There we go. It's so beautiful. So beautifully well said. And I love that the beautiful image that you provided us of this rising up, the creating the space for this to come up, the full expression or authenticity, the living legend that each of us are, to be able to show up in that, to really step into that. And as you say, there's so much that can dispirit us or that buries down or suppresses that creativity.
Exactly.
So,
And it's in
yeah.
every one of us. It's in
Yes.
every one of us to be wise, to take out our fear and open up our eyes. We can all be anything, everything, without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. A song called It's in Every One of Us by David Pomeranz. comes
Ah,
through.
yes. Yes. And so the court gesture, I love how that popped up. It's like the Jack in the Box, like you wind it up and then you see this thing that pops out. And for you, it was this court gesture. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. How was that a muse for you?
I was living in Los Angeles in my late 20s before I had the call, the pull to move to Hawaii. I actually had an opportunity to be invited to live in a group community called the Reincarnation Center that was living in LA, and I was friendly with some of them and shared my body therapy, and they knew some of my skill set. And at the time, before even visiting Hawaii, they invited me to come live with them as they moved to Hawaii, and I thought that was interesting. One day, I was at a Renaissance festival in Los Angeles, and I picked up this beautiful, what's called Sir Cedric's Goodhead. It was a picture of, it was a stick, and on the stick was a head, this beautiful androgynous looking gorgeous being with a three-horned hat court jester. And I looked at it and it spoke to me. I actually have it inside. I'm not going to leave you now to show it, but you can imagine the stick and this beautiful porcelain headed androgynous figure with the three-horned jester hat. And it looked at me, or I imagined it was talking to me, and said, "Take me, I'm yours. Don't ask the price." It was hundreds of dollars at the time. It was 1979. I
Oh
just bought
gosh.
it. And then when I moved to Hawaii shortly afterwards, I met a woman in the Hawaii University of Hawaii who was in the costume department. And she loved my body therapy, my way of helping free the creativity by working on the body, speaking on rhyme, that people can be brought on this very swift vision quest and transform in this whimsical way their relationship to their bodies, their communication, their partnerships, their creativity, and their contribution to humanity. And I offered her sessions, and I asked her to make me a jester's hat, just like this one that was on the stick. And she made a whole harlequin outfit for me, and I actually called my business, "You're Quite Psychic, Living Legends." And it went all around Hawaii as the court jester that I had just come out as, yet without even knowing that I was actually carrying the tradition from my family of many generations before forward. I was doing this unconsciously, and that's how the jester in me was born or reborn, because I have a feeling I've been doing this for lifetimes in other cultures for centuries and centuries ago. So that was the birth of this character. And like I said, I went around Hawaii in an artist in the schools program teaching the living legends of Hawaii to children in their schools dressed in character as a jester in improvisational theater. Now I use the same skills in presentation coaching to help people be more alive and engaging by utilizing their entire body to communicate their message. As it turns out, after all these years, just a few months ago, I was invited to be an enrichment speaker on a luxury ocean liner leaving Hawaii on its maiden cruise heading towards Sydney. And I'll be doing the very same thing, teaching and sharing presentations of the art of storytelling, awakened creativity, the legends of Hawaii, Maui, Pele, the fire goddess, and some of the other legends in Tahiti, Moorea, Gauguin, tattoos. So this is now 20, 30, 40 years later that I'll be continuing the same lineage. Such an exciting thing to pick up where I left off years and perhaps centuries ago.
This is amazing. And I love the work that you're doing. And what's unique about it too is that the way that you bring the body into it. So I'd love to hear more about that, because often when people think about speaking, they're thinking about the messages and the words and being able to project their voice, but you're talking a lot about the body. So share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that with an example. I'll do
Okay.
that because just before getting on this call with you, I was giving a session to a woman who's very successful in real estate, and she's no longer in real estate, yet she feels like she would like to become a signature keynote speaker for the real estate industry because she has a very powerful message. And one of the things for her to share is her message who she is. I was saying, who are you before you even deliver your message? What is it that in you is your compelling, telling, swelling? And she said, oh, okay. I said, put it in 3 key words and use your body to get into the zone. So when you present your signature speech, you're actually already in that zone. So people see what you're saying, feel what you're communicating, and they're on the same stage as you bring out the mage and the sage. What are your 3 key words? So she said, I'm caring. I'm calming. I give people hope. And I share my wisdom. I asked her to do that with body gestures that match the words. So at first she was doing it without any body gestures. And she stopped short. She said, I'm caring. She stopped here. And I said, well, wait a minute. For you to really be caring, you don't want to stop short. Let's do that same expression again. But first, let's exaggerate. I use a lot of theater, the old pattern as though it's a Monty Python expression. Exaggerate, saying the words, I'm caring, as though you don't mean it. She was not saying it with her head like this the first time. So she did this. I'm caring. I said, yeah, well, that shows that you're not caring. You don't believe in yourself. Now let's have you do it so your hands, your gestures, and your head look like what you're saying. So you're in the zone and people can more easily follow your message because it's contagious and remember what you're saying and act on your message. And she said, I'm caring. She did that with her hands, which extended. It didn't stop short. And with her head, an affirmation, and she came closer to the screen. Great.
Yes.
The same with I'm calming. So at first she said I'm calming, but she stopped short with the words and the sound. So I'm calming all the way down with the sound of deepening that goes to the center of the spine towards the molten earth. Excellent. I give people hope, an uplifting gesture instead of stopping short, a feeling of uplift with the gestures that match the words. So the verbal words match the vocal sounds and the visual delivery. By the time she finished this, and I share my wisdom in whatever way looked like the wisdom, I said, now when you present your speech, you get yourself in the zone off camera. I'm caring. I'm calming. I give people hope and I share my wisdom. And share those same gestures in your presentation. To all the people that are here today, thank you so much for coming. It is such a thrill to be with all of you. I have something that I've come to over many years that has lifted my spirits that I can't wait to share with you. So I asked you to share those same gestures as part of the presentation. And by doing that, he became immediately magnetic, contagious, and so much fun to watch that her words actually came through more easily because she was matching her inner intentions with the intonations and the visual gestures that match. So that's one of the ways I incorporate body. And one of the most powerful exercises I know for all of those who are here and watching and listening, I'm happy to give you a exploration of this as well to find your 3 keywords and to take you through a bit of a journey. It's possibly the most powerful exercise that I've created, that in just a few moments, then you can practice that on your own and get into the zone at home before a delicate presentation, before a passionate presentation at work or out in your community, or a creative piece of singing or something that you've developed as a piece of performance art. So it's matching the words, the gestures, and the sounds. That's the essence, the quintessence, the secret in bringing the body to our full self-expression.
That is brilliant. And I love that you bring the body into it, but in such an expressive, gestural way. There's so much of our communication that is nonverbal, isn't there? So it makes sense to be able to see the presentation and also to feel it. And I remember a quote that about feeling, like when you are with someone, it's often how they feel around you that gets remembered more so than the words. So I love that, not just
Exactly.
physically, but you're bringing in that emotionality into it and the way people feel when they're with you. As you said, it becomes magnetic and they're drawn in and they're engaging. And yeah.
That's right, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And another way of looking at that to deepen the teaching that we're sharing here today when a person delivers points of view, principles, I make a triangle here with my arms and my hands to show you to make a point. Some of the speakers I've worked with, some of them are the best speakers in the world. They get paid thousands of dollars to do keynote presentations. They make great points and they give good examples. The examples, as you see the light that's shining on my elbow over here, are the multisensory connecting with a story. One time a great example of that point is, so when we bring people into a visceral description of one of the best examples that is, one time I remember, so it appeals to as many of the senses as possible, then people hear the point, feel the example because it appeals to the beingness inside and not just the intellect. And then finally, for each point embodied by a good example, then it makes more sense when we follow through with the application. What's in it for me from the audience's point of view? So when I teach and I share with people, you make a point, you give an example that makes sense and appeals to as many of the senses as possible of that point, you finish with an application, PEA. I call this the P formula, the cycle of communication, because even the best speakers deliver great points, good stories, but they forget about connecting with you, the audience. And when we do, then we can move on to our next point. So it's something I teach for each point, one example, one application. Let's move on to our next point. So it's another teaching here that allows the embodiment and the verbal points to be connected with the person who's listening. Oh, I matter as much, me, the audience, as this person delivering their great stories and points. So it's another teaching point for me to share with you in this body-centered way today, the P formula.
I love that. And I so appreciate that. There's been so many teaching points and wisdom and lessons shared. And I'm curious if people do want to connect with you and want to be able to learn more and practice this, how would they connect with you? What would they expect? How can they even reach out?
There's a variety of ways to connect with me. Verbally, I can say vocally on this call, probably the easiest thing you can remember vocally is I just give you the name of both my website and my Facebook business page, which is called My Presentation Doctor, spelled out. That's the name of my Facebook page. So then you can interact with me. And the same is my website, mypresentationdoctor.com. However, for you to get a better sense of how I can help guide you through these exact challenges as you come out as a public speaker or sharing something sensitive with your family, or your company, your community, your country, I will help you navigate this online stage as well as to present in live audiences by your having a complimentary discovery call with me. And you can put that link here in the call where people can find that as well. It's a discovery call with me. You can easily reach me through my email address, which is Dr. Gary, DRGARY, at mypresentationdoctor, all spelled out.com. And finally, my YouTube channel. I have a very exciting YouTube channel that's got the best of some of these exact moments that we're talking about, including interviews like this one I'm having with you, and moments where people have made some huge breakthroughs and given me permission to share it with the world, because it's not just their challenge, it's many people's challenge to come across and break through trauma and be more authentic. I encourage you, and we'll put that link down in the description below as well. That's right. Of how you can subscribe and then comment as well as the thumbs up, and we can be in interaction that way. So those are different ways you can reach me and how I can assist you in coming out and coming in to your greatest authenticity on all stages and in all stages of your life.
Thank you so much for that, and generously offering your time, a whole half an hour, to be able to meet with you one-on-one and go over some of these key points and start to uncover some of the things that might be blocking someone or holding them back from really fully expressing themselves. authentically and being able to speak their truth and be able to really step into and embody the message that they're here to share. So I so appreciate that. And the videos on YouTube on your channel, Dr. Gary, are absolutely fantastic because there are some longer ones, some shorter ones, a lot of great lessons and tips, so much to learn from them, and they're engaging as well. So I do recommend that everyone to get in touch with Dr. Gary. We'll have all of the links that he's mentioned down below in the video description. I wonder, Dr. Gary, if there's anything else that you wanted to share that you wanted to be able to get across while we have the audience here.
Yes. As you asked me the question, I noticed that I have lately been practicing the joyful discipline when people ask me questions, rather than giving a quick answer and coming out of a state of urgency or not feeling enough or I've got to please people. It did exactly this when you asked me the question. I took a deep breath in, practicing self-nurturing, filling myself with inspiration. And then as I exhale, that feeling of empowerment that comes through. So I practice now when people ask me a question, simply taking in the information, nurturing, fully receiving, inspiring, breathing into the top of my lungs, receiving fresh inspiration, and then empowering. And then from that, an answer comes. And the answer was the exercise that I practiced to get into the zone, very similar to what I shared earlier in this interview about how you, in developing 3 key words, can get yourself into the zone. So these 3 key words for me, I nurture, I inspire, and I empower, helps me receive information and digest it and then come from a deep gut-centered place that carries more wisdom and wonder and whimsy and wit, and quickly giving an answer that comes out of a sense of urgency and fight and flight, an old habit pattern. So I want to share that because it's something that I'm practicing, and I noticed it when you asked me the question. So that's what came up to share, this simple practice for all of us in nurturing, inspiring, taking time to breathe in, and empowering. Long exhale, practicing letting go and following through further, longer, deeper than we once allowed and knew. Speaking in rhyme often gives me a chance to add a certain melody, harmony, and music to the communication. And I find when I'm having a good time, the wisdom, the words come through even more easily. So this is something else to share for those of you that connect with me. I'm happy to dive deeper with you as well.
Oh,
So
I love it.
to have this honor to be able to, it's a sacred responsibility for me these days to share in these ways and touch as many human souls as possible. It's a time in our history that we all have it to do. It's not just that we have to do it. We have it to do, to stand up, speak up, show up, to share what is most powerful and impactful in our personal lives. Because if we don't speak up, we won't have this beautiful world to live in as evolving humanity. So I feel like I'm in service to all humanity to help us take that stand of command in our land. Breathing in grand, everyone. This is where it all begins. Yeah.
Taking that stand in command. Love it. I love everything. I love everything you said. And you can probably see and feel my huge smile because anytime we get together, it lights me up and I feel happy. When I'm in your energy, Dr. Gary, it's happy, it's joyful, it's inspiring, it's empowering. It's all of those feelings and the emotions and the attentiveness and the engagement.